Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 89 of the Gaming Lounge podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Sebastian, and as always, I'm joined by Dory. How you doing, Dory?
Seb, man, you innocent young man, bad habits, shackles, constraints, and karma, though bound by restraints, remain true to thyself. Points aggressively. We're here to, of course, talk about Romeo as a dead man. I'm very proud of myself for thinking of Seb Man instead of dead man. Thank you. I will not be taking questions at this time. I am. I wish I was happy. We're getting another fucking snowstorm, and I'm just so tired of it. And I really want winter to be done. I'm not the
Can't
biggest fan
relate.
of winter in general,
Can't relate.
but yeah, can't relate. Couldn't be Seb. But yeah, we're getting another winter storm. So I do have tomorrow off, which is nice, I guess. But I didn't really want the day off, and I'm tired of having days off because of the weather. But is what it is, and I get another day another day or two to relax before I'm back to work. But yeah, like I just mentioned, we're going to be talking about Romeo as a Dead Man, which I thought was pretty good, and Seb played it as well. Seb, did you beat it? I don't know.
No, I haven't played it since. I'll let you beat it.
I beat it. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want. I didn't want to. I wanted you to beat it. I didn't want to fight with take turns. I wanted you to complete it.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And then we're also going to talk about some minor news that came out of Xbox this week about, so and so retiring and somebody coming up, and it's no big deal. And then of course we'll talk about the Todd Howard interview that happened. I never got to check it out, but Seb did, and it's got some pretty big news coming out of that. And of course, PlayStation shutting down Bluepoint Games, unfortunately. So we'll talk about that plus a couple other things.
All right, so let's start with the biggest news of the week, which was Phil Spencer retiring and Sarah Bond leaving the company, and then a new person has become CEO of Microsoft Gaming. All right, so let's start with the Phil Spencer news. So in a major shift for the gaming industry, Phil Spencer, the longtime head of Microsoft's gaming division, has announced his retirement after nearly 40 years with the company. And this includes more than a decade leading the Xbox and Microsoft gaming as a whole. So obviously, when you first think of Xbox, I would say Phil Spencer is the first person everybody thinks of, right? Like he's the face of Xbox. He for the longest time he was like kumbaya with everybody. He was going on podcasts. He was very open on social media. He was like the go-to guy. He was being pretty transparent and things like that. After like a year, I would say like a year or so now, Microsoft's kind of like shut that down. They've been very quiet in comparison to previous years. Like Phil Spencer hasn't been as openly talking to people, if at all. So people were already suspecting that he was going to be retiring soon, or at least leaving the Xbox brand. And so this is not a surprise. The big surprise for me was Sarah Bond also leaving, because people thought she was going to be the heir to the Xbox brand, right? Like she was going to take over as the next person. She seemed like she was being built to be the next person, and because when you think of her, you think of like the Xbox Rogue Ally X. You think of like Game Pass, and she's always like one of the biggest faces in the showcases and things like that. So, what was your reaction to this news?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by it. I had heard the rumors about Spencer before, so I knew that okay, he might be on the way out in the next couple years, but I didn't think, oh, he's out on his way out in 2026. That was the part of it that kind of surprised me because it just came out of nowhere. It wasn't him announcing it. It was just like news outlets suddenly saying, "Oh, he's retiring," and then I think the tweet he sent out came out later or something. Um, Sarah leaving around the same time is suspicious to me. It signals to me that there's a couple of possibilities here, and obviously neither of us are deep in Xbox in the least, so this is pure speculation. But it feels fishy to me because why would Sarah leave unless they're either not promoting her or because she was really behind Spencer's vision and he was persuaded to leave sooner than he wanted to? I don't know, and obviously I don't think we ever will, unless, of course, one of them goes on a podcast and starts talking. Whatever happens, it reeks of something's going on here, more than just what they're saying. It's also notable that Matt Booty, I still can't believe that's his last name, is now the head of Xbox. So Xbox is literally Booty at this point, all Booty. I wish the guy whose last name is Bowser was still in control of Nintendo, so we could have Booty and Bowser, but no such luck. But yeah, and then the other guy's what, Jim Ryan or something? He's got a boring name, or did he get
Yeah,
replaced? I forgot.
yeah, he did.
He did. Okay.
He's a Japanese guy now.
Yeah, yeah. So we'll make fun of his name, but Booty, I mean, come on. But yeah, it's pretty huge. I was very surprised. I think my initial reaction, and I posted about this on Blue Sky, so you can go check that out. But it's very short. Feels like Xbox. I don't know. I already felt like Xbox was kind of dying off as a like premier console brand. No, I don't know. Arguably, they never really were compared to Nintendo and Sony, but they were at least, contending. But it really feels like this is, charitably speaking, the end of an era for Xbox, and I just don't know how many hits they can take like this. I'm just I'm not a business person, so like I don't know all the ins and outs. Maybe they're doing awesome financially, but I kind of doubt it. It really seems like Microsoft wants to have more tighter control over what Xbox is putting out and how they are doing that. And to me, that means that Microsoft isn't liking what Xbox is doing these days, which is not a good sign for Xbox's future. And I don't want that to be the case. I don't want it to go back to being a duopoly with Nintendo and Sony. But unfortunately, I just don't know how much Xbox has got left in it at this point.
I think that's exactly what happened. I think Microsoft's not been happy with the Xbox brand, and like I said, the last couple of years, Phil Spencer's basically put on the back burner. He's put on the side, and they've been very corporate and not as kumbaya anymore like they were. And it seemed like Satya was like the one really in charge now, and they took over and basically made Xbox third party. And I guess they're just not happy with the consoles not selling as well as they hoped. I'm assuming that Game Pass is not as, they're not happy with the numbers. I thought that they probably thought there was gonna be more growth at this point, and it hasn't been there yet. Which obviously, I've always said this: where can you grow with Game Pass when there's not that many Xboxes out there, and they're expensive now, even more expensive than they were, and PC gamers strongly prefer Steam. So where do you grow your audience? There's no Game Pass on Nintendo. There's no Game Pass on PlayStation. Maybe if they put it on PlayStation, it would have blew up even more. But Sony's not going to say yes to that. Nintendo's not going to say yes to that.
That was before AI was driving up the cost of computer parts and computers in general.
RAM,
so now it's even worse for Game Pass.
Exactly. So I think Microsoft's just not happy with where they were going, and I think that's really what it came down to. And there's no way we're ever going to know unless Sarah Bond tells us why she left the company, but it feels like maybe she's not happy with the direction they're going. She didn't want to be part of that. That's like,
yeah,
maybe her vision.
I wouldn't be surprised if there's some big NDAs involved too with either of them. I don't know. I mean, Sarah Bond quitting is different than Spencer retiring, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if there's big NDAs involved. If there's not, I still don't know if they would even speak out, just because it might hurt them in the long run or something like that. But I hope they do, because I want to know what the hell happened. But maybe Schreier will say something at some point.
Yeah. All right. Well, stepping into Spencer's role as CEO of Microsoft Gaming is Asha Sharma. I think that's how you say her name. She most recently led Microsoft's Core AI product division, and this is a big change because she's not really a gamer, if at all. Like, she's coming from a different market, the AI market.
She was like head of like Instacart and Meta, which is like completely divorced from gaming.
Yeah. But she did make a commitment in her statement that she's committed to great games, and she says she was reaffirming that games remain art crafted by humans. So she definitely pushed that out there. She didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I was in charge of AI, so that means we're going to push AI now. Obviously, that would be it's an easy concern, because where we're heading as a whole globe, not just the industry but the globe, heading towards AI, and she just made that clear. So that's good. who knows what the future holds for Xbox now, considering she's not really a gamer, and I don't know. Does she know what to look for? Does she know what's gonna pan out and what's not? Is she just gonna listen to the executives above her telling her to push
Yeah,
this? There's just no way to know. Only time can tell is basically what it comes down to. But it makes me a little iffy on this. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not an Xbox gamer. I'm a PC gamer. I play on Steam. I buy their games on Steam, and I still view Xbox as a third party developer anyway. So it doesn't affect me personally. But if I was an Xbox
yeah,
gamer, and like on the console, I'd be like, it might be time to start finding another platform to
yeah,
make it my main platform. I would say you don't have to give up your
yeah,
Xbox and sell it. I'm just saying, like, I would start looking around, thinking about where I can go. I think a lot of people are switching to PC in general anyway, more than ever. But that's another conversation. All right, Bond expressed gratitude for her time at Xbox, and she noted achievements across Game Pass expansion, cloud gaming, hardware launches before her departure. She did good things with the Game Pass. I mean, Game Pass was at the time was it really was the best deal in gaming, right? Like for that
yeah,
price, you were getting a great amount of games. Especially like last year, it was like every month there was a big game, right? And then cloud gaming is a great is really made a lot of progress in the last 20 years. Like cloud gaming was really not good a while ago, but now like it runs pretty well, really flawlessly, unless you have really bad internet or something. And although I think xCloud is not as good as Nvidia's, but it's another conversation again. And then the hardware, of course, the Xbox, the Series X was a really good. It's a really good console. It just didn't it had a lack of software, right? Just a lack of games, struggles, with their own internal problems. So the Series X is a well-made console. And Series S was a good idea to have two different versions, and people could play the cheaper one if they needed it. It wasn't a bad idea. It was just they just kept tripping on their own feet. Every time they had good news, they always found some way to step on the rake. That's
yep,
basically what it came down to. So she did a good job. The things above her basically is what doomed her, I
yeah.
guess, or doomed her time there. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right. I mean, honestly, she never really stood out to me. I kind of noticed her more, I think, in the last couple of years, but overall, Phil always stood out to me more than she did.
Yeah,
But I mean, like, yeah, it definitely seemed like they were pushing her to be an important figure within the company. So it's weird that all of a sudden she's just gone. Again, I go back to what I said earlier about I think she really valued Spencer's vision, and so with him gone, maybe she just doesn't like the new ideas that Sharma is coming up with, which wouldn't surprise me because as opposed to Sharma, seems like Bond was very interested in gaming and very passionate about what she was doing. I may not have always appreciated the responses to things that they did with Tango or the studio closures or whatever that some of what she was saying, but I never doubted that she cared about what was going on. I never doubted that she was invested in what was happening. Now I doubt the people up top are like that. But like you said, only time will really tell. But yeah, I'm sure she's going to move on to do something else. But like you said, I thought they were really building her up to be, the next Phil Spencer, and that could have been pretty big because, not to put too fine of a point on it, but Sarah Bond is not a guy, and B, not a white guy. So it seemed would be pretty big for the industry. Obviously, Sharma is not either, so that is still pretty cool in terms of inclusivity. But I am concerned about the AI stuff, like we talked about. But yeah,
yeah, and only that, but it happened on the 25th anniversary of the Xbox, which is kind of a bummer, right? Like this is like the big
yeah,
anniversary where you're supposed to celebrate Xbox, and we got big games coming out this year, like Fable, and then we have this news. So disappointing for sure. All right, let's move on to some news about God of War. So recently, Christopher Judge, who's the voice of Kratos in the last two God of War games, hinted that fans will likely hear about what he and his team are working on probably late summer. That comment came during a conversation at a gaming event where a fan asked him about his future projects with God of War. It was basically a leak because it was recorded on a phone at a convention, so this is kind of a leak, to be honest with you. He also confirmed that he isn't involved in the newly announced God of War trilogy remake, which will feature the original Kratos voice actor from the older games, which makes sense. Judge didn't specify what the summer announcement will be, but the way he phrased it suggests that something new, potentially another game project, could be revealed around that time. What do you think this game is? What's your speculation?
Yeah, I mean, my speculation is gonna be very obvious here. It's probably the new game for Boy. Like, it's probably the Boy game. I don't know that for a fact, but it seems like it'll be the new Loki game. I would guess, but I don't know. Obviously, they just came out with the new Metroidvania-esque Sons of Sparta, which I've actually heard pretty negative things about, or at least mixed things about. Not what you'd really expect out of Santa Monica, but I think they also worked with another developer for that game.
Yeah, they just published it. They didn't develop it, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't develop it. So this will probably be what they're actually developing. So higher expectations here. Late summer. I mean, Ragnarok was what, 2022? It's now 2026. Dev cycles are usually about 4 to 5 years these days, maybe longer. Could be the next God of War game, but it really did feel like Kratos was kind of done after Ragnarok to me. I mean, I won't go too much into the spoilers for Ragnarok, but it really felt like that was the end of his story. I'm not saying you couldn't continue it or that there are no loose threads or anything, but it felt like they were ready to move on to his son. So that would be my speculation, but they could blow us away and do a completely new IP, similar to Naughty Dog not continuing Last of Us.
Yeah, my speculation is that it's either the Atreus game that you mentioned, which has
Right.
been rumored for several years now, and obviously they opened the door for him to be the main character. We can spoil Ragnarok at this point. It's been 4 years, but Atreus
Yeah.
is out doing his own thing now, right?
Right.
And so Kratos might show up in a flashback or something like that, right? He doesn't have to be like front and center. He could show up in a side quest or something. It doesn't have to be like a main character kind of thing. That would be interesting. I would play that, of course. I actually enjoyed how he played in that game.
Yes.
And my second thought is the Cory Barlog game that he's been working on. I don't know if Santa Monica is working on that with him. I have to look that up. But that'll be my other question: is this a new game, a new IP that they've been working on? Are they tired of God of War at this point?
Yeah.
But it seems like it's going to be God of War. So I lean more on the Atreus game being a thing. Or it's a God of War 3. They're going to continue Kratos' story. Only time will tell. When I say summer, I think it's going to be like Summer Game Fest. We'll probably get a PlayStation showcase before Summer Game Fest.
Yeah. He does say late summer. Isn't Summer Game Fest usually in June?
It
Or
is
am I
it is in June, but
okay? We'll
no.
see. I mean, he said probably late summer, right? They could be
Well, to be
ahead of
fair,
schedule by then.
it could be like an announcement in like June or May, and then
Okay.
the game comes out in July. Like it comes out in a couple months, guys.
Sure.
That kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that could be a
Okay.
possibility.
That makes sense too.
Yeah. So only time will tell again. So we'll see. It could be nothing too. I mean, remember this is like a leaked video on someone's phone, and it could be like a small thing. Like who knows? So we'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to the Todd Howard interview with Kind of Funny, which I watched. It was with Greg Miller. It was a good show. Todd Howard, for people can say what they want about him. He's entertaining to listen to. He's very down to earth. He talks like a normal person. He doesn't talk like a corporate stooge. He still walks the line. Obviously, he's the head of the studio and everything, but he doesn't talk like a corporate person. Like he talks like a real gamer. Like for example, he said he plays college football online and beats people. Like he's not just BSing. He's like Phil Spencer. So he gave us a couple insights. Nothing major, but some newsworthy. for starting with Elder Scrolls 6, which that got revealed in 2018, so it's been 8 years since we got anything on it. And he confirmed that most of Bethesda is working on it right now. So the majority of the studio is working on it right now, and it's the studio's top priority, as it should be. It's like their biggest IP, and progress is being made. He also said that it is playable, and they've had people playing it, and but unfortunately, the release date is still years away. So don't expect it anytime soon. I don't know what that means. Is it gonna be like 2030? Is it 2028? But Todd did say many times that he prefers to shadow drop his games. He said he made it very clear that he thinks if he had it his way, he would shadow drop his game, or at least have the game come out like a month after the showcase or something like that, like he did with Fallout 4. He's like, here's the game, and then the game came out soon after. So we'll see. What's your reaction to that, Dory?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great. I honestly, when you told me about that, I was very surprised. I was like, wait, already? And then you reminded me that like the first trailer was like 4 years, 7 years ago. How long ago?
8.
8 years ago. Jesus Christ. 8 years ago. And obviously, even for a huge game like that with a huge open world setting, that's quite a long time. I mean, not if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, but it is a long time. And that's great. I just played Oblivion. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a great game. Would love to play a game that's like that, but a little more modern in terms of the gameplay and in terms of the UI and aesthetic and stuff like that. So I'm all in. Pending reviews and stuff. I can be a little mixed on open world stuff, but generally I liked what I played from Oblivion. I had problems with it, but the remake specifically. But yeah, it's good to hear that it's their top priority and progress is being made. That's nice because we just don't know. But yeah, it's kind of sad that it's still no release date, years away. It's like why did you announce this 8 years ago? Why not announce it like 4 years? Half that time would be a bit much, but like at 4 years, 4 years ago is like 2022. That would at least make more sense. But yeah, I don't know. It's nuts to me. This game's going to be in development for a long time, it seems.
Yeah, it seems very far away, unfortunately. I'm very excited for this game, of course. I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan. Grew up with Morrowind and Oblivion and Skyrim. Skyrim is like top 30 game of all time for me. So yeah, I've been waiting for this game forever. I'm curious, like, because they remastered Oblivion. Are they going to remaster Morrowind now? Are they going to remaster Skyrim? And when I say remaster, I don't mean just like a port. They already remastered Skyrim technically, but I mean like a remake with like modern graphics. Very interesting because it seemed Todd. If you watch the interview, it seemed like Todd Howard was very interested in doing that with older games. So we'll see. Speaking of that, this applies to Fallout as well. He made it clear that Fallout has not been abandoned, and there are multiple Fallout projects in development. Season 2 of the show just ended. Season 2 is very good. I think I like Season 1 a little better. Season 2 was more like setting everything up for future seasons, but I still enjoyed it overall. It really captures the spirit of the game very well. Like it's canon to the games basically, and they are continuing support of Fallout 76, and we already know that they're working on Fallout 5. The way Todd Howard's wording it is obviously they're prioritizing Elder Scrolls 6 over Fallout 5, so don't expect Fallout 5 like in this decade. That's gonna be a 2030 something game. I don't see how they could balance Elder Scrolls and Fallout 5 at the same time. But anyway, there's a bunch of Fallout games coming out soon, or relatively soon. I think one of these games is Fallout 3 remaster. I think Fallout 3 is gonna get the Oblivion treatment with their full remake, where like the gameplay is the same, but it has modern graphics. What do you think, Dory?
Yeah, this was the more exciting bit of information for me personally, or probably the most, right? It's hard to get excited about something that's still no release date, still years away. But Fallout projects being in motion is great. I have only played, I've talked about this before, so I'll keep it brief, but I've only played New Vegas. So I'm really hoping if they did a remake, I would definitely be there. I'd probably replay that game, especially if they put in a sprint. I've not played Fallout 3 or 4. So would love to play a remake of either of those games, or even a remaster with some kind of modern accessibility or UI stuff.
They just did an anniversary edition of Fallout 4, so I don't see Fallout 4 getting that treatment, but
Yeah,
Fallout 3 just
I
seems like
mean,
a safe bet.
yeah, and Fallout 3 is the one I'd be more interested in playing anyway, based on what I've heard.
Yeah, Fallout 3 is so
But
good.
yeah, I'm excited for hopefully the future of Fallout, having a bit of more of an actual future, right? It having to make clear that the franchise hasn't been abandoned kind of says a lot about where the series is at this point.
Well,
Because
yeah,
we used to get
yeah.
Fallout games every few years or so,
Well, just
off and on.
to be clear, Fallout is probably as popular as it's ever been. Like it's super popular now. Fallout 76 got fixed.
Yeah.
People are playing it and enjoying it. The show is very popular. It's even popular with non-gamers.
I more so meant in terms of new games coming out every few
Oh,
years or so, in terms of not in terms of popularity. In popularity,
sure.
I think it's probably bigger than it ever was.
Well, it's
There
like,
was a whole like
yeah.
convention that for it.
No, it feels about the same. I mean, Fallout 8 came out in 2008, and New Vegas came out in 2010. But New Vegas wasn't even Bethesda; that was Obsidian.
Right.
And then
Sure.
Fallout 4 came out in 2015, so that was like the whole 7 years. And then
Okay.
76 came out what 2018, 2019? I think it's 2019. So it's pretty normal. But I would
Okay.
say. Well,
It just feel. I guess it's always been long stretches of time between
well,
games.
let me
Then.
rephrase that. It was normal, but really, if you think about it, Fallout 4 came out in 2015, and it's 2026. So it's been 11 years since the Fallout game, and Fallout 5 is way far away from from being
Right.
coming out. So it's going to be like 15 years. I think they prioritized 76. That's really what it was. 76
Yeah.
is like is essentially Fallout 5.
Yeah.
And they fixed it.
But anyway,
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've heard good things about that, so I'm glad for folks who are enjoying that. But yeah, it's better news than the Elder Scrolls 6 news, I would say, and
Yeah.
I think we are getting that New Vegas in 3 remakes. I'll probably be there day one for
Absolutely.
for 3.
And not only that,
I don't know about New Vegas, but
yeah, not only that, but I think 3 is going to get shadow dropped like Obsidian, like Oblivion did. Because like I said,
Yeah.
Todd kept mentioning shadow drops. I don't think he did that on accident.
right,
I think Fallout 3 remaster remake would come out this year. Actually, I could easily see that like a random news drop, or a random like right after the Xbox show or something like that. I could see that. I think it's likely. Actually, I lean on it being likely. Now you're right though. I'm curious about New Vegas because Obsidian made it, but like Microsoft owns both of them, which is strange because if you grew up in my era, Obsidian and Bethesda were actually rivals in the Western RPG genre, and now they're owned by the same company. But yeah, would New Vegas get the same treatment? It would make more sense, I guess, because if you see season 2 was in New Vegas, and New Vegas is probably more popular than 3 because 3 is in Washington D.C. But if I had the choice, I would pick Fallout 3. I'd prefer Fallout 3. I think it's overdue. It's 2008. I mean, it's overdue. Plus, I beat New Vegas like what a year or two ago, and I 100%ed it. So I could wait a little bit. But you're right. Sprint button and everything would make a huge difference. All right. Starfield news. So Todd Howard said he goes on Reddit often actually, and he reads people's comments. And people are asking for like Starfield 2.0, and he confirmed that the next update of Starfield is not that. It's not going to be a remake. So he said if you don't like Starfield, you're not going to like this. And if you do love Starfield, you're going to love it. And so it sounds like we're getting updates and expansions, but we're not going. It's not going to be a revamp of the game. It's going to be exactly the same game, just more content and things like that.
Yeah.
Which does interest me because I did not like the main story, as I've said, but I enjoyed the side content a lot. I really enjoyed the side missions, and I enjoyed the concept of it. I just need. I would have just preferred like aliens and like more of a Mass Effect kind of game, not just all humans in space. I was just kind of bored with the story, but I enjoyed it overall. Now we joke with the Starfield 8 and everything, but I still think it's a good game.
Yeah.
I have never once said it was a bad game. I just
Yeah, I
thought,
think people who say it's a terrible game are underrating it. I don't think
yeah,
it's a great game, or it is a great game in a sense. But I think there's enough there that is interesting and worth playing and finding out about. But I don't think it's like worth going back to, or
yeah,
like, it's not. It's absolutely not what Bethesda wanted. They wanted the next, they wanted the next Fallout. They wanted the
yeah.
next, they wanted the next Elder Scrolls. Sorry, I was forgetting the franchise name. They wanted the next Elder Scrolls, but they
Hmm.
are absolutely not getting that. I do like that Todd was very honest that if you don't like Starfield, this isn't going to change your mind. So I do appreciate that. I want to say on a side note, there's no way it's good for that man's mental health to be going on Reddit and seeing what people are saying about Starfield. There's just no way that's good for him. That man absolutely has a dedicated Reddit therapist, because there's no way that's good for him.
That's not good for
So shout out to
anybody.
him for,
Yeah, turn
or
off.
anybody. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm glad I left Reddit, but
yeah.
um, but yeah, it's tough out there being a game dev and looking at comments for anybody, not just if you're Todd Howard. So
Shoot.
I can't even imagine.
Yeah, shoot. I'm a consumer, and I turn off the chat when I watch a
Yeah,
showcase. I don't want
yeah,
to.
exactly. Same.
Yeah, I just thought it was disappointing in comparison to like people. The hype they got, it was like game of the generation, like the next Skyrim, and it just wasn't that. But I think our tastes have changed. You know what I mean? If this game came out in like 2012, 2013, it would have been like a monster hit. It would have been like, oh my god, this is a game of the generation level.
Yeah, this would have
Great.
been huge.
It just our tastes have changed. We expect a little more now. We expect more
Yep.
from this genre, and we've seen that with slowly with the gameplay. Like I would say, Outer World 2's gameplay and Avowed's gameplay was much better, right? And the stories of Outer World 2 was good, but I'm curious about this genre as a whole right now because Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed did not sell well, and and we're not getting sequels. And
Yeah.
I'm curious if people are not interested in this kind of genre anymore, in terms of
And
like
they're
the
also,
yeah, good.
I know from articles I've read about and interviews from the devs of Outer Worlds that they're going to be focusing on shorter, tighter schedules, right? They're not making as big of games. And they said the year of what's their name? Why am I forgetting their name? Obsidian.
Yeah,
They said the year of Obsidian actually sucked for them, right? They released 3 games in the same year, and they said that was terrible
yeah,
because it burnt people out and made
exactly.
people, hate their jobs and stuff like that. They said they never want to do that again. They want to do smaller games with smaller schedules. They still want to have deep stories and solid combat, but they don't want to have 6-year time periods and have 3 games released in the same. So I think what they're going to do is they're going to consolidate their teams. The Outer Worlds team,
Yeah,
the Avowed team. They're going to probably consolidate them a little bit. This is speculation, and then have a smaller but tighter game for them to focus on. But it's a shame because I liked both those games. I loved both those games actually. I was in the minority for Avowed, but I think a lot of people liked Outer Worlds 2 and thought it was just as good, if not better. Maybe a little bit worse. I heard some people say, but I just think that's sequelitis and people expecting
mm.
too much out of a sequel. But personally, I loved both games. Thought they were both in my top 10 last year. So I had a great time with both. It's a shame to see Obsidian not meeting sales expectations, but I mean, I've written about this on my blog where it's like just the expectations in of themselves are usually unreasonable. But regardless, yeah, I'm not surprised by much of this.
I'm curious. Was Grounded 2 their most successful game last
It
year?
was, yes, grounded
Yeah,
by a landslide too, by
yeah.
what they made it
So
seem like in the interview.
that's probably what they mean by smaller game and something like
Yes,
that
yeah,
instead.
that's a good shout.
Although I would love another Pillars of Eternity. style game.
Same. I still have to play the first and second. It's actually one of the only reasons I have Game Pass at this point. I literally have like
I have them on Steam,
12
I think.
games on my Game Pass that like and I have not played any of them. I'm always playing Steam. So I'm like honestly so close to canceling my Game Pass cuz like why am I paying $17 a month? Like I'm just waiting on Fable and waiting on a couple of other Xbox games, but like other than that I barely use it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But even then, like I own those games on Steam, and
right,
I'll get those games on Steam, so you don't have to really pay for Game Pass, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is not meant to shit on Xbox. We don't mean to do that. But I just this genre is concerning because I don't know if people are digging this genre as much. Like I love this genre personally, but yeah, you don't want too many of them either. And they're so long to make. They take so long, and there's so much writing involved, and just too many RPG elements you have to write. So yeah. With all that said, I'll play the new DLC of Starfield. I got the premium edition on sale, so I actually don't have to pay for the DLC. So I was just, if I'm in the mood for Starfield, I'll play it again. All right, and then finally, well, we already said this, but he confirmed that the whole team is working on, most of the team is working on Elder Scrolls 6. That's the priority more than anything else. And they're always working on smaller projects, but that is a huge studio. But Elder Scrolls 6 is the main thing. So I think if I had to guess, I would say Elder Scrolls 6 is the biggest one. Obviously, that's the priority. Fallout 5 is probably second. And then they probably have smaller teams working on the remaster remakes because obviously those don't require giant studios, huge number of people to do that.
Do you think the next Elder Scrolls will be out before 2030?
No, I don't.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I think 2030 probably will be when it comes out.
Damn.
Which is like 12 years, which even for Elder Scrolls is insane.
Yeah.
Because when did Morrowind come out? I feel like it was early 2000s.
I was just about to say early mid 2000s.
2002. And then Obsidian came out 2005, 2006. That was 3 years. And then Skyrim came out in 5 years in 2011. So that's a huge time. I know.
That's like over double. That's over double of that.
Similar to Fallout though, because they have Elder Scrolls Online, which is taking up the majority of people's attention, I guess. But I'm not into MMOs like that, except for WoW. So, not for me. Anyway, point is, I appreciate Todd Howard being a little more transparent, telling us what as much as he could without spoiling things. And Elder Scrolls 6 is being worked on, and we're getting a bunch of Fallout projects coming out soon, relatively soon. Starfield is getting DLC, and yeah. Let's move on to some unfortunate PlayStation news. To balance out the negative Xbox news, let's talk about some negative PlayStation news.
Yeah, yippee.
Yeah. PlayStation has announced that it is closing Bluepoint Games, the Texas-based studio, best known for its highly acclaimed remakes of Demon's Souls and Shadow of the Colossus. Both of those games were fantastic. The closure is set to take effect in March of this year, and around 70 employees will be laid off as part of the process. Bluepoint has been part of PlayStation Studios since being acquired in 2021, and before that had built a strong reputation for faithfully remastering and reimagining classic PlayStation titles. In recent years, they also helped the co-development work on God of War Ragnarok, and were working on a live service God of War project, and was eventually canceled, leaving the studio without a major new project in development. PlayStation leaders explained the decision as a part of a wider business review amid a challenging industry landscape, pointing to rising development costs and shifts in player behavior as factors. The closure comes as a shock to many fans and industry observers, given Bluepoint's track record and role in revitalizing beloved games. While PlayStation says it will try to find opportunities for some affected staff elsewhere in its network, the studio itself, once seen as a key part of preserving and updating classic games, will no longer exist. I got this information from Kotaku. This is very unfortunate. I've been waiting for the next Bluepoint game forever, and now we're not getting one at all. And I I blame Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst more than anything. Their vision of this live service PlayStation has really backfired. The studios that they purchase have backfired. Bungie being the biggest one of them all, being has not planned out for them at all. I just don't understand what they were thinking because yeah, live service games can really when they really pan out, they can be a massive success for a company, but there is something called competition of time. Never mind money, but time. People have only so much time to play video games, and people like to play the games they like to play, which could be like one or two, maybe three games at most. They're not going to play 9 to 10 to 11 to 12 live service games at the same time. It's like you're cannibalizing your own games because there's only so much time to play these games. I just don't understand. I never understood what Jim Ryan was looking at. I think PlayStation only got away with it because PS5 was very successful and the brand was very successful, and then Microsoft was stepping on rakes half the time. So they won by doing nothing. Otherwise, this would have really backfired on them, and it just didn't.
Yeah.
If Microsoft went for the throat and got really aggressive and made Game Pass like the main thing and made their games exclusive to Game Pass, like Call of Duty or something like that, which they didn't do that, right? Maybe they could have put a dent on Sony. Maybe not this generation, but set it up for the future generation. But nope, they basically cruised and did nothing and did a lot of stupid ideas and projects, and everybody they purchased backfired on them. And this is another example of it. A God of War live service game. Who the hell wants that?
Yeah, I'm with you. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. Look, I'm not going to pretend I am Bluepoint's greatest soldier, greatest warrior. You know, I did not play Demon Souls. It's not my genre, so why would I play it? And I tried to go back to the Shadow of the Colossus remaster a few years ago or so. I don't remember when the Shadow of the Colossus remake came out, but I think it was the PS4 remaster.
It was.
Was there multiple?
It was a remake that came
What's
out
that?
in 20. It was a remake in 2018.
2018. So maybe that is the one I played. I think I rented it from a game store. And I just didn't like I liked a lot of it, and I think I got through a few Colossi, but I think I got tired of the combat loop. It's very, you've got stamina and stuff like that. You fall off, you have to get back up again. It's just not my kind of rhythm for combat, but that's nothing against the devs. That's nothing against the incredible team that made it. Obviously, the story is legendary. The atmosphere is incredible. The musical score, yada yada. But it just didn't connect with me. So I'm not gonna pretend like, oh, I'm Bluepoint's, they're my favorite studio or whatever, and I'm absolutely, dedicated to them. But this sucks. I mean, this is just a gut punch because, like you said, it's another studio that hasn't worked out for them. I have this article also from Kotaku called "The PS5 Era Studio Acquisition Spree Has Been a Disaster," and a quote from them saying, "A few of the studios Sony gobbled up over the last decade only a few of them have been successful, like Housemarque and Insomniac. The majority of them have produced few, if any, new games. 3 of them, including Bluepoint, are no longer around after just a few years. And even when a new game is launched, it might just get shut down shortly after release, as was the case with 2024's Concord." So, I mean, there's some real numbers and names and nouns for you backing up what Seb's saying. Like, this is just not working for Sony. And I completely agree. I don't know what Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst were thinking with this plan. It's idiotic, to say the least. I understand that they see dollar signs, but you've got to be able to see through those dollar signs to some extent,
Yeah,
because all you're doing is you're losing that money.
yeah,
Not them personally, I'm sure. But people are losing their jobs. Studios are closing. These studios could have been great by themselves. Bluepoint was doing awesome work, but
yeah,
no more because Sony.
yeah. I mean, Sony has changed course from the live service stuff. As we just did their state of play, and it was a very good state of play, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think Sony has learned from this. It seems like they're corporations. They do stupid things all the time, more greedy stuff. But they have seemed like they shifted away from the Jim Ryan idea. He just got very cocky, arrogant. I don't know what he was thinking in 2020. And I'm sad. This hurts me more than Dory, I would say, just because I have a history with PlayStation. I'm not a PlayStation gamer as much anymore, if really not at all. I'm purely PC now, but I grew up PlayStation my whole life, and I grew up in the PS3 era too, right, Dory? That's when you were taking a break from gaming, right? That
Well,
late 2000s,
20
early
like
2010s.
early 2010s,
Yeah,
early
well, that's the
2010s.
era I'm
Yeah.
talking about. Like, I don't mean like
Yeah.
2006 ish. I mean like
Yeah.
late
Late
2000s.
PS3, early PS4.
Yeah, yeah. Because that's when they did the God of War collection, and that's when they did Ico and the Shadow Colossus collection. That's when they did the Metal Gear Solid HD collection. They did the Uncharted Nathan Drake collection, and they did Gravity Rush Remastered. So, and then only that, but they supported in PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, Flower, Titanfall, and God of War Ragnarok. So they've been a major studio for PlayStation in terms of support and remasters, and people were speculating what they were going to remake next or remaster next. It's very sad to see. This is definitely a bummer. I don't really get it. I can't imagine they're that expensive. I guess the God of War live action, no, I keep saying live action, live service game really was overly expensive, and it cost them a lot of money and resources, and that's what did them in, I guess. I
Yeah.
imagine most of them got forced to do it. I mean, I don't know that. I'm speculating, but
Right.
I'd
But no, I
imagine.
mean it's like Redfall all over again, right? I presume or I speculate that at least some of the studio probably didn't want to make that kind of game, and it's pretty easy to speculate that because like it's not their wheelhouse, and that's what's so frustrating, right? These studios are getting forced at the barrel of a gun coated with green money to make these games that are not in their wheelhouse, and they either get canceled, they do poorly because they're crunched to death, or because they're just rushed out, or because they're just not good ideas. Right, the same thing happened to Arcane Austin, right, where they put out Redfall, which wasn't in their wheelhouse at all. They did like third person, you know, stealth adventure games or whatever, and suddenly had to make this multiplayer vampire game. Um, it's just not a winning combo to force a studio to make a game that's not their genre. Similar to Bluepoint with the live the live multiplayer components to it. And it's funny you keep saying that they canceled the live action God of War because that's actually happening. I know you mean the live service game, but yeah, I just thought that was funny because that is actually happening. So yeah, I don't know.
That's
It's
why.
just messed up priorities all over the
That's why
place.
I keep mixing it up, because I keep thinking. Cause I'm so
Yeah,
used to saying live action to God of War, live service. I think live service is hurting the industry because I think a lot of people are chasing the Fortnite dollars, and it keeps backfiring. It's just too much of a risk. It's high reward, high risk, and almost, let's say, the strong majority of the companies have tried this have failed. I get it, because if you succeed, you really succeed. You make a ton of money, but it's not worth it. Or at least get one studio to work on a live service game. Not like, don't force your non-live service studios into making a live service game, and that's the problem, right? Sony put everybody in charge of like a live service game, and yeah, it was a bad move on their part. It's really annoying. Like High Guard being an example of that, right? They chased that, again, the Fortnite money, and it backfired. It died basically on arrival, and it won't be the first game, and it won't be the last game. So that's really what it comes down to. Sony screwed up chasing the live service dollar. All right, I think we talked about that topic enough, right, Dory? Is there anything else you wanted to add, or I think that's it, right?
no, sorry, just finishing up my dinner. But yeah, I think that covers it all. It's just another sad situation in the games industry, and it honestly just makes people glad that they're not in it, because of how much of a bloodbath it can be. So, but speaking of bloodbaths,
So Romeo is a dead man. Our last topic of the night and our main topic. And Romeo's Dead Man is a wild third-person action adventure from Grasshopper Manufacture, which is a studio led by Suda51. You play as Romeo, a guy who basically dies and gets rebuilt into a cyborg agent, then gets thrown into this messy sci-fi story involving time travel, monsters, and trying to reconnect with someone he loves. It's a third-person action game at heart, but it's packed with strange humor, sudden genre shifts, and a lot of chaotic energy. So, Dory, we'll start with the pros. I think we both agree this game has a ton of personality to it. Like, this is a very
yes,
unique
that is
game.
that is the number one thing here is the personality.
So go ahead. When you say personality, what are we talking about here?
So specifically, we're talking about the art style, the switching of art styles. It's Suda is famed for his multiple kind of art styles that he does, or different aesthetics that he does in one game. You can take 10 different screenshots and they'll look like they're from 10 different games, but they're all from the same game.
Yeah.
Right. So there's just a vibrant amount of colors and aesthetics and tones, from comic books to like 16, 32-bit, whatever, retro to modern double/AAA game. It's got a lot going on here.
Yeah, for example, when you're like in a mission, it feels like a PS2, PS3 Lollipop Chainsaw game, or like Killer 7 or No More Heroes. And then when you're on the ship in the main hub, it turns into like a 2D retro game with like chat boxes and stuff like that. And then it has a comic book narrative. Then it has like a talking. Your grandfather is like on your jacket. It's like a talking. It's like, it kind of reminds me of Death Stranding with the puppet. Like, it's just it's very Japanese. The best way I could describe it. But it's cool. Like, it has a cool world. The personality is really awesome of this game. I think it's not going to be for everybody. That's one of my cons. Although it's not really a con, but it's just to be clear, this game is not going to be for everybody in terms of the personality. All right, the combat. I think the combat is very fun. Slashing through the enemies and with all the different weapons and guns you can use feels very punchy and it's very satisfying. What'd you think of the combat?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I have some cons about the combat, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Overall, I found it very, like you said, very satisfying to hit enemies. It feels good. It feels impactful. It looks good. The amount of gore and blood and viscera in this game is ridiculous, but it's very fun. It just leads to a very frenetic kind of pace and energy about the whole game that feels very kind of gonzo-ish, or like like that classic Peter Jackson Dead Alive or whatever it's called. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
That movie, that the horror movie he came out with long before he did Lord of the Rings. And yeah, it's just absolutely like psychotic energy.
Yeah, it's a pseudo game, so the games are all like that. If you play No More Heroes, you like cut people's heads off and blood splatters everywhere. It's very the usual.
Very bloody.
But although this is Dory's first pseudo game, right?
Yes, I did not grow up with Killer 7, although I was aware of it. I didn't have a GameCube. I believe it was a GameCube exclusive. So I never played it. Yeah. And then I just never got into No More Heroes. I had a Wii. I could have gotten into No More Heroes, but I just never did. I think I was always a little wary of the controls and like how it would do with the Wiimote. So I just never played it. So yeah, this is my first Suda game. I've never played a Suda game before. I know about them, of course. And I've always been interested in his games because his weirdness entices me, doesn't repel me like it might some people. And suffice to say, I guess that is a pro for me as well. Suda's weirdness is definitely my kind of weirdness. I love all the batshit crazy stuff that happens in this game. It doesn't always make sense, and it doesn't always seem particularly logical. And sometimes it's just not even, it doesn't even seem like it fits in the story or the game. But I enjoy it nonetheless. One thing I would never accuse this game of is being boring.
Yes, that's one of the main selling points of this game, one of the best pros. This game is never boring. It's very creative. There's always new mechanics and mini games and bizarre story beats. The game's always unpredictable. You have no idea where the story's going. I mean, he literally gets attacked by like this time traveling zombie and then becomes a cyborg and then joins the FBI and they're like a spaceship in space and they time travel. It's really out there. So this game is definitely not boring. Did this game make you more likely to go back and play older Suda games now, or?
Yeah, for sure. I'd at least want to give No More Heroes a shot. I'm not sure about Killer 7. Isn't that more of like a... I think he did kind of like an arcade-esque thing, like Time Splitters or whatever, right? I can't remember exactly how the gameplay loop works, but I'd at least watch a video of it or something. But I mean, he's always had, kind of wonky gameplay. That's also a staple of Suda because he's more interested in the experience, the vibe of the thing than the mechanical aspects of it.
Yeah, No More Heroes. I think the whole series is on Steam now, so definitely more accessible. Yeah. All right. So it has a memorable presentation as we talked about. It has really good music. I love the visuals. Yes. There's some performance issues we'll talk about, but the visuals are really just creative. They're really fun to look at. And as Dory mentioned, the Suda 51 weirdness. This game has weirdness, which, again, not going to appeal to everybody. If you really like this weirdness, you'll love this game. If you don't like this weirdness, you're going to be like, oh my god, this game is terrible. I don't know what's going on. So,
yeah,
this is definitely a game that feels like it came out in 2006. So just be mindful of that. And Dory, as Dory mentioned, it's never boring. Now, Dory, you mentioned the Bastard system, which I think is really good as well. So let's talk about that.
Yes. Yeah, I love this. So this is basically a reskin summon system. Yeah. It's nothing incredibly complicated. Basically, you put these seeds in the... Okay. I'm going to start describing it. As soon as I describe it, I'm going to be like, well, okay. So stick with me for a second. So you grab these seeds from these zombies that you kill, right? Because zombies, of course, drop seeds when they're killed. You go back to your spaceship. You plant them in a garden, which is on your spaceship, because of course it is. And then you pull the zombies out, the friendly zombies, out of there, and then you can basically summon them at will. And they have different rarities, like common, rare, or epic.
Yeah.
By the end of it, I mean, I was still getting, or original, I think it is, but they all have their own rarities and their own powers. And it really mixes up your gameplay because you can pretty much upgrade or get all the weapons at the beginning. And then you just basically stick with one and you're good for the rest of it. Yeah. I don't know what you picked, Seb, but I picked the shotgun and the gauntlets. That's what I did. I don't know if you did something different.
I did like a machine gun one that was like spun around and it was shooting machine guns everywhere. And then I had one that was exploding. It turns it turns it kind of into like an RPG because they have levels and you can fuse them like personas, which is very interesting.
Yep. Yeah, that was really cool. You had like kind of a fusion and like you could watch them like battle each other out and then it like cuts away because somehow that's like crossing the line. And then blood splatters all over the camera. It's very cool. I just thought it mixed up gameplay very nicely. It was a little obtuse at first to figure out what was going on, but once I figured it out, I had like upper level 20 bastards, lower level 30 bastards. It's really funny too because like when you can also give up bastards. And your sister, who is of course handling the gardening, is like, "Do you want to let this bastard go?" just the phrasing is very funny, which intentionally so, I presume.
Yes.
But yeah, Bastard System is great. It's very fun. There's a lot of room for experimentation and improvisation. You can have up to 4 bastards as a summon, which is great. You don't get up to 4 until towards the end of the game, unfortunately. So you can't upgrade it manually. But 3 is still pretty good. And my bastards of choice were a healing spire, because of course, if you run out of ways to heal. And then I had a thundershock one, a tornado, and like an epic like diagonal thunder laser thing that shot out and did huge damage if it hit, but it was very like angled. So if they weren't in position, it was a one shot and you missed. So kind of risk and reward there. Yeah. But yeah, very cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you mentioned the soundtrack as well. So we both really enjoyed the
Yep.
soundtrack. You said it was very fun and has groovy mixes and techno dances and jazz all mixed together.
Yep.
I think the soundtrack's really
And the
great. Is great.
jazz, yes, I agree. And the jazz mostly comes from the Subspace guy, the guy who I was emulating at the beginning of our podcast
Yeah.
when I was calling him Sebman. And yeah, I just love him. You do actually meet him eventually in the game, and it's great. I felt like I was meeting a celebrity, so I was very excited about that. He's by far the best character in the game, and it's not even close. We'll talk about why later, but yeah, he's just a very interesting character. He says a lot of stuff to you from Subspace. Subspace is basically this area that like you walk into through a TV and you get teleported to it, and it's like this kind of neon drenched space where you're among a bunch of tiles and you have to do these puzzles. I kind of hesitate to call them puzzles, but these puzzles to basically navigate. It can get a little repetitive, but it's a cool idea. And anyway, he's real fun. He just talks a lot about the meaning of life, and the thing that I said at the beginning actually is great because that's what he says to Romeo whenever Romeo is going to a TV he's already been to. So that's how you know you're going to a TV that you've already been, which is great because otherwise I get so fucking lost. And I already did get lost a couple of times in this game. I needed to look at a guide to figure out what I was doing.
And the voice acting in this game is very good. Like
Yeah,
it's not amazing, but it's definitely I enjoy it
it's very
overall.
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very solid. I don't think there's a bad one among the lot. I think Brittany Cox is Juliet, and I believe she played Aerith. I could be wrong, but I believe that's Aerith's voice actor in the remakes. She's very talented, so that's awesome. And yeah, the voice cast in general is great. My last pro is that all the boss fights feel very different from each other, as opposed to the minions and stuff. I thought the last boss was very creative and a little frustrating, but very challenging. I do not, by the way, recommend playing this on higher difficulties. You will probably not enjoy the game as much.
Yeah. I'm
Um,
playing it on hard,
but
so I understand.
oh goodness, yeah, it couldn't be me. But I played it on milk chocolate, and unfortunately, for some reason, you can't take it back once you
Mm.
pick, which I think is dumb and doesn't make any sense. But anyway, we'll talk about that. The cons keep kind of bleeding in because we've got quite a few cons to talk about as well.
Yeah. So let's get into the cons. Well, one of the issues of this game is the performance.
Yep.
This game is not a super expensive AAA game. This is definitely a more of a budget game. You can tell just by looking at it. As much as we praise the visuals and the creativity of the game and everything like that, you can kind of tell it doesn't have that polish. The polish is not totally there. It has frame rate drops. I haven't had any issues on my PC, but on my other devices, I've definitely noticed it. I had to put on frame generation. Actually, even on my PC, I was not getting 60 consistently on high on ultra. Now I'm playing on ultra settings, just to be clear. But when I put frame
Yeah.
generation on, I was getting like 150 frames. So no problem when that came on. But it's there. This game is not super polished. You agree with that? Have you had any issues with
Yeah,
the
I
polish?
agree. I thought I wasn't sure if it was me. I had little stutters, and I was like, "Oh, it's fucking
Yeah,
Unreal Engine being goddamn Unreal Engine."
yeah,
And it obviously was. I should have tried to mess with the settings, but for me personally, I have a 4060 or something.
hmm
The lag was like so minimal and only happened so sporadically. And again, this is just me personally. I can't speak to what Seb experienced or other people. It definitely wasn't perfect. I just didn't. I ended up not messing with it. By the time I really thought to, and this is like you could say this is a con, I guess, but I don't think so. I think the game's somewhat fairly priced, but it's like a 10-hour game. Like maybe you could do 15 if you really like tried to get a lot done. But it's a short game, is what I'm saying. And so by the time I started being like, oh, maybe I could go in the settings and mess with stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I've got like a couple hours. I don't care enough. So for me personally, I didn't have a lot of stutters, but definitely, definitely it was a problem. It's something I noticed.
Did you notice the visuals? Like, obviously the style of the game's great, but did you notice
The
like,
style of the game's great. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It never popped out to me, but I don't disagree either. None of the buildings or background or anything like that really stood out.
All right, so we both noted the combat, so let's talk about the gameplay of the game. Now,
Yep.
you said it feels wonky and clunky at times, and the camera doesn't help, and it's too close to Romeo. And you said you can't make the FOV slider any more or any less. I actually had the same problems with that as well, where
Yep.
I think the camera's too close to him, and
He
sometimes
is.
enemies there's so many enemies on screen, and you kind of get swamped. Sometimes you get hit in the
You
back.
just fucking spray and pray. That's what I did a couple
Yeah.
of times. And it's funny. There's one part later in the game where you're trapped on an island and a bunch of zombies are attacking you. Surprisingly, no Scooby Doo is involved, and they're all coming at you. And I'm swinging for like a good minute, and I'm like, this is getting me a lot of flosion. Like this is great. And then I'm like, but why are they still coming? What's going on? And so I turn around and move away from where the little small space I'm in where the camera is. Oh, there's little teleporters and they're bringing down zombies. This is never going to end. I got to go kill them, which was fun. I mean, I kind of figured that like halfway through. I'm like, they're not stopping. There's got to be a reason why. But yeah, I mean, that's how bad the camera can be at times. It's just frustrating because it's like, I don't know why they didn't make an FOV slider. I don't know why you can't pull the camera back. You're right. Like this game feels like it's 2006. Although I'm pretty sure Kingdom Hearts 2 came out in 2006, and I think its camera work is better than this, which is kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. That was a little frustrating at times because sometimes I just have a zombie come out of nowhere and there's no audio cues, I don't think, and there's no directional cues. I could be wrong about the directional cues. Maybe there is one.
I
But there's
don't.
definitely no
I
like
don't.
big audio cues.
I don't think so. I don't recall.
Yeah.
You just
Okay.
get hit on the side, and your character gets stun locked, and it's kind
Yeah, that's the other thing too I don't like about the combat. I don't know why I'm wagging my finger like I'm a
of.
fucking parent. Come on, Suda. But you can get stun locked so easily. I died at least 2 or 3 times. I know that doesn't sound like a lot over the course of a 10-hour game, but every time I died from that, it was so frustrating because there's nothing I could do. I was just saying to myself, that's cool. I'd love to play the game. That'd be great if I could play the game. Because the zombies there's so many of them. You really do sometimes just need to back up, let the bastards do some of your work, and then clean it up with the blade because later in the game, especially, it just becomes overwhelming. There's just so much blood on the screen. There's so many particle effects. There's so much music. It's a stimulatory it's overwhelming. I mean, I can't even describe it. It is just way too much at the same time, and the camera's so close, so it makes all of that too much even more. So it could just be frustrating to keep up with the combat sometimes.
Yeah, I also think the mission structure is repetitive. I think it does. I mean, I haven't beaten the game, but from what I've
Yeah,
played, it follows the same pattern. Where
it doesn't change. It does.
okay,
Spoilers. It doesn't change.
it's literally just like fight a bunch of zombies, do a objective, and then you go to this weird world that Midori mentioned, right? This
Right.
inner
Subspace,
subspace world. Find a key, unlock a door, and then you get to a
and then
boss,
fight the boss,
fight the
and that's
boss,
it.
and that's like that was
Yeah.
the same mission.
The only one that's different is the last level, and that's not even. It's just like a different way to do the same structure. It's funny because this game is so weird and interesting and has so much going on, but when you break down how the game's actually laid out, it's incredibly like
Simple.
I don't simple. Yes, thank you. I didn't want to say boring because that's not the case,
No, it's
but
not
simple.
boring. Just simple.
No,
Well,
yeah, it's very simple.
it does get boring at times in the sense that there's too much of me getting lost and not knowing where to go. Especially when I was in the mall one where no,
Yeah,
like not the mall.
the
Well,
asylum.
something the asylum one where I'm like, I don't know, I don't remember, what it's called. But the point is, I don't know where it
Yeah,
wants me to go. I have to unlock a door in one room to get to another place, and I had to look up a guide.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
there's
I
too
had to do
much.
that a couple of times too. It can be
Yeah,
frustrating. The part in the asylum also turns Romeo is a dead man into a survival horror game very briefly, and it's very strange, and I don't
yeah.
really like it. I was like, can I please go back to chopping zombies to a million pieces, please, because that is much better than what is
Yeah.
happening here.
So
So
that's one of my biggest criticisms of this game is the pacing is very uneven because of that. Because there's a lot of
yeah,
downtime where I'm just trying to find this door or trying to find this key, and this game should be more action like focused in terms of like it should be more action than puzzle solving. Wasn't
yeah,
it's not really puzzle solving as Dory said. It's more of like finding a key to open a door. there's a lot of me just walking around looking where to go. Where like I don't feel like I have that problem as much in like a Devil May Cry. Sometimes
Yeah.
Devil May Cry, but this game just has some weird pacing. And
Yeah, Steam
yeah,
says for me it took me 14 and a half hours, but I when I go into the save file, it's like 11 and a half or something like that. I think you could have cut off an hour and a half. I think there's a little bit of pacing here and there. That never bothered me as much as it bothers Seb. But I totally understand where he's saying. The Asylum level in particular is too long. There's a whole nother aspect to it after the Asylum that
yeah.
just kind of goes, and I'm like, I don't really feel like this is necessary, y'all. We could have just had a boss. Um, but yeah, it's it can be uneven at times, like Seb said.
Yeah, and then speaking of the gameplay, you also mentioned input delay.
Yeah, I don't know if it was just skill issue, but like, but I saw other people complain about this too, so I don't think it's just me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I'll be slashing and I'll try to bring out my sword, and there'll be like a delay, like a second or two, which doesn't sound like much, but in an action game like this, every second counts.
Yes.
Especially when you can get stun locked so easily, right?
Right.
And so I'll be trying to get out my gun, and it just won't happen as quick as I think it should. Or I'll try to do Bloody Summer. We haven't even talked about Bloody Summer. Bloody Summer is basically your special move, and it gets your health back. It's very important for the gameplay loop. Actually, I kept calling it Bloody Red Summer because there's a Coheed and Cambria song called Blood Red Summer. But Bloody Summer is a very cool mechanic, but you really have to push down on that trigger for Bloody Summer to activate. Like, I thought it was just a tap or like multiple taps. No, you gotta push down on that right trigger or right bumper or whatever for Bloody Summer to go off. And then even sometimes you'll be facing the wrong way and it'll just completely miss. Now, the good thing is you get health back no matter what, so that's great. But it can be frustrating at times where to see that scene and you're like, oh, the enemy's over there. I've totally missed.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah.
nothing you can do. You can't change the direction or anything like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, it felt like there was a delay. I'd be shooting with my gun, and I'd try to switch to my blade and or try to move away in quick succession with some bosses, especially because they do big damage. And it's like the game just does not want you to do that, which can be frustrating because then you take unnecessary damage or even deaths.
Yeah, the bosses do like tremendous amount of damage, like overly amount, I think.
It's ridiculous. I had some bosses, and this is another one of my cons, come out with like this move that I would never have known how to deal with, what to do, or what it even does. I had some moments of that during the final boss where it did a couple moves I out of nowhere that I wasn't familiar with, and I didn't really know how to counter it, and I just had to kind of figure it out. But in a couple cases, it was like it didn't do nearly as much damage as I thought it would. But in other cases, just like one fucking shot me. So
yeah,
it just one shot.
Yes, and I already kind of mentioned with the camera problems, but I don't really like the lock-on in this game because, like as you mentioned, I had missed the Bloody Summer because the lock-on is just clunky, and
yeah, I don't even know. I literally didn't even know there was a lock-on button.
Yeah,
I didn't even know you could lock on it. I tried pressing the sticks in. I tried pressing other stuff. Like I didn't.
I could
see
be
any lock-on.
I could be misremembering, but I think there's a lock-on, or it was very
you might be right.
It was
I
very
don't know.
clunky, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was missing a couple times with the Bloody Summer, like as you mentioned. It was like
Yeah.
it was a big waste. You do get it back.
I'll say
a certain
Go
skill.
ahead.
You do get it back pretty fast.
Yeah.
With certain skills and things like that, but
right.
but
And then I'll also say I don't understand why this has a Souls-like save system.
oh yeah.
Why every time you go to the space-time pharmacy do all the enemies respawn? Now I know
Oh yeah,
the actual meta reason is probably because they want you to be able to grind for Flosion in case you want to upgrade other weapons. I appreciate that. I don't really, in practice, in theory, I understand it and I appreciate it, but in practice, it's very fucking annoying. It makes backtracking very annoying.
Yes.
It makes going through areas very frustrating. I just wish they would give you areas where you could get a lot of Flosion, like the optional dungeons that they already have, and I did a few of, and you get a lot of Flosion that way. Like, just have that in more abundance instead of bringing enemies back. I don't know. It makes me want to interact with your game less because I don't want the enemies I just beat coming back. I understand they're zombies, but I literally punched them to a bloody pulp. That dude's head is off. Like, he's gone. So like I don't know. They're not like the
Yeah.
fucking shadows from Kingdom Hearts, right? There's no narrative reason for why this is happening.
And it's not like you kill them in like 2 hits. Like the enemies in this game are quite tanky. They take a good amount of
Yeah,
combos.
you really have to up your weapon,
Right.
your handheld weapon, guns damage
Right.
a lot, and you also have to up the damage for your your gauntlets or sword or whatever you choose.
So
Machine gun. I think there's another one on top. So
what weapon have you used the most? Because I prioritize the sword. I guess the one you start off with. And
yeah,
I like that one the most. I've tried all of them. I have unlocked all the weapons already, and
yeah.
I
I
I like the sword.
Yeah, I stuck with the fists. I really like the fists. It's no surprise because I also really like the fists in Hades, Hades 1.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised. As soon as I saw that, I was like, that really stands out to me. I like the idea of using the Yggdrasil rocket launcher, but
Yeah.
I never actually did it. I really like the shotgun. I remember hearing from one of the reviews that he basically stuck with the fist and shotgun and had a pretty good time with it. But I'm sure you could do that with most
Yeah.
weapons. There's basically a sword, fists. There is I don't know what the other two are actually off the top of my head.
It's like two. It's like
Um,
double blade, I believe.
okay, double blade,
And then there.
and then there's like a great sword, and then there's like a
Yeah,
great
a
sword.
big
So
great
which is
sword.
not usually my style.
That one was too
Yeah,
slow for
so
me.
not usually my style. Yeah, and then for guns, there's like I said, we said the rocket launcher, the shotgun, the pistol, and the machine gun. So yeah, I stuck with the like I said, I stuck with the shotgun and the fist. I did a lot of close combat, but I saw people in videos and stuff when I was looking at guides have a lot of luck with the rocket launcher. I'm sure it did a lot of damage. It's just that it takes a while to reload,
Yeah,
but you do big damage if you don't miss.
right, as it should, right? But it was too slow for me
Right.
with the reloading. I use a machine gun
Yeah.
personally.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Um.
then you mentioned the cheap enemy placement.
Oh man, I gotta talk about this. Last level has so basically keeping things vague, I guess. I mean, the story doesn't really matter. But you're in subspace and you've climbed up a whole bunch of ladders and you're really high up. I don't know why, but Romeo is a dead man, has fall damage, and it's very annoying. And you can't turn it off, as far as I know. Maybe there's accessibility options, but I don't think there is. And there are these birds. I hate these birds. Seb, have you already come into contact with these birds? I think they come in pretty early in the game. But
Maybe
yeah.
no.
Anyway, these birds are hard to hit. They do surprising amounts of damage, and they take more than one shot from your gun to die, even at high levels of damage. Basically, is what happens is you're on a platform really high up, and so like I said, there's fall damage. So if you fall, you're dead. And you can only save in this game through manually. You can't quick save or auto save or whatever. There are auto saves, but they're not controlled by you, is what I'm saying. And if these birds knock you off, you're dead. And there's like 10 of them or 15 or something. I swear I died to this section of the game. Again, this is the last level, more than I died to any other part of the game. It was so frustrating. I was grinding my teeth. I was so mad because it was intentionally designed so that it would waste your time, knock you off the platform, and then immediately die and have to do it all over again. And it's not just you have to fight the birds. You have to get past a couple of waves of enemies to get to the birds just to fall off and die again. That just to do the whole fucking thing again. It was I usually give games like a moment of grace, I guess I'll call it, where like they have maybe there's one badly designed boss or whatever, right? Like I know we disagree about this, but like Eddie in Silent Hill 2 was my like white whale. Like I hated that dude. That was not a fat joke, by the way. Sorry. And uh this was my like Eddie moment in this game. I hated this. This was so intentionally and obviously designed to piss the player off, and it worked. I was rage baited very easily here because I hate losing progress. And you can literally be climbing the ladder looking like a jackass, and one of the zombies with a gun can just shoot you and knock you down, and you take fall damage, so you might die. And the birds can hit you off of the ladder too, as if I don't hate these birds enough. So it took me a few tries. I had to like spam my bastards and also my shotgun and pray they didn't knock me off the platform because basically they do this diving attack and it pushes you backwards. And so it's like Suda knows what he's doing here. I fucking hate it. There's this other section too. This is the last I'll talk about this. But there's enemies with guns and data streams in this cult level, and it sucks. It's like there are all these guys up here, so of course you can't reach them with your melee stuff, and you only have so many bullets with your shotgun or machine gun or whatever. And so I'm looking like a dumbass, like on the ground while these guys are up here shooting at me, and I'm trying to shoot back at them, but there's so many of them, I can't get a good shot in. And there's guys on the ground, and there's these like data streams that if they hit you, they like impair your vision or make it so you can't use your bastards or whatever. It's like, oh, why did we design the game like this? Like you're intentionally making it so it's frustrating. So I just don't understand why you would want to do that other than pissing your player off. But I don't, why would you want to do that? I'm like, when I'm in the last level, I'm like 10 hours into the game. I'm like, why are you trying to piss somebody off who's like 10 hours into your game and is clearly enjoying it to some extent? Like, why else would I still be playing? So I don't know. That was frustrating to me.
I think that's all our cons. So overall, I think this game it's a good game. It's very stylized. It's very unpredictable. It's fun. It's unique, and if you really like Suda's style, you're really gonna enjoy this game. It reminds me of a game of 2006. Definitely. With that said, it lacks polish and it has performance issues here and there. The camera has problems. Some of the gameplay is clunky, and overall to me it's a 7 out of 10. I think that's the perfect example of a 7 out of 10 for me. What about you?
Yeah, I would agree. This is similar to Digimon Time Stranger of last year, where it's kind of like it's a really strong 7 out of 10. Ironically, I want to say it's a Starfield 8, but I'm not even sure of that. But it's very close to being like that kind of like 7.5, 7.75, whatever. Like it's very close to being an 8 out of 10. If they would just fix honestly, if they just fixed the camera and they got rid of some annoying enemy placements, I'd probably call this an 8, and fix up the movement, the combat delays and stuff like that. I would just, that would bring it up to an 8 for me. But unfortunately, the game I played is not that. Unfortunately, like I said. So, but yeah, a very strong 7 out of 10 for me. Another 7 out of 10 game that I really love. It's not going to be my top 10. I don't even think it'll be my honorable mentions. But I do like it. I will say another thing about it. The ending is completely baffling, which I guess you would expect from a Suda game. But there's really no context at all for why it's. I guess there is a scene earlier in the game that kind of sets it up a little bit. But basically, if you're not paying attention, it passes you by real quick, and you're like, "Wait, what's happening? Wait, what the fuck?" I also think that there's sequel baiting at the end. But I don't know. I'm not gonna get too far into like story stuff because I don't want to spoil anybody. But yeah, it seems like Suda is very confident that this game is gonna sell well, and it's got great reviews on Steam at least. Very positive, 90% last I checked. So that's great. Good for Grasshopper on that one. But I enjoyed my time with it overall. I will say if I didn't like Suda's weirdness, this would be an easy 6 for me. But because I love his weirdness so much, it made up for the gameplay and mechanical flaws. So, yeah, my first Suda game. I might go back to No More Heroes at some point. I'm not really sure how they hold up now, especially without the Wiimote, because they were originally designed for that in mind. But I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm curious if this game's in a sequel or not. It got a 73 on Metacritic. Or on PC's version is 75. And it got a 7.7 audience rating. And it seems like people generally like it. Although I think at this point you know what you're getting into with Suda if you've been a fan. So
Right.
like I think the fans who like his games are digging it, and if you're not, you're probably like, what the hell's going on? This is too weird for me. So we'll see. Well, that concludes our show. Next week, of course, is the release of Resident Evil Requiem on Friday.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we'll talk about it that weekend. We probably will, because I'll probably have played it for like many, many hours on Friday and Saturday.
Yeah, I'm immediately buying it too, and I'll probably have played something. I don't know how much. I mean, next week is my February vacation, but on the other hand, I am going to New Jersey over the weekend, so I might be at a disadvantage here. But we'll see. I'm hoping to get some hours in before the podcast, just to give brief, vague impressions.
Yeah, I hope I don't have it beat that fast, but you never know. Uh, Either we usually wait a week, but in this case, this is not a game I'll be playing this game like night and day. Don't put it down. Like wasn't when
Yeah,
it the last Resident Evil game that came out, Resident Evil 4 remake. I played that game like nonstop, like 15 hours in a row,
yeah,
basically. Not literally, but basically. So,
yeah.
Resident Evil is my favorite franchise, obviously. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. You all have a good night, and we'll see you in March. Bye.
Oh wow, yeah, that's true. Yep.
Yeah.
See everybody back in March.
Bye.
In March. Return to real space.